Hello everyone and welcome to Helix Plays Games. My name is Richie and joining me this week is Mr. Rob.
Hello everybody.
No Chris this week because he's still on paternity leave, looking after his daughter. I can't wait. You've met her, haven't you?
Oh yeah, she's a cute little button. We'll go see. We'll go see her this week, Richie.
Yeah, I need to go see her. He's currently going through that period where he's literally having to schedule appearances because everyone he knows wants to come meet her.
Yeah.
Which must be kind of nice in a way, like how much love and affection everyone's got for you. But then it's also must be like, okay, if more people come around, I also need to sleep, and occasionally just want to have some time with him and his wife and his daughter, just to their new family.
I know, it's very selfish, isn't it?
Yeah. How dare you love my daughter? How dare you care for me? But we've got a great show lined up for you this week where we're talking about Activision-Blizzard-King, almost over the line seemingly, Hellblade looking unreal, and do we need an Xbox Classic? All that and much, much more on this week's XPass. Before we get into it, make sure you like the channel, like and subscribe, like the video, subscribe to the channel, all your podcast feed of choice with notifications turned on so you're kept in the loop with all of great content here at Helix Plays Games, such as Talking the PS, where tomorrow we break down all the PlayStation gaming news for you in the clouds. We have Clickercast is over and done with, but if you like The Last of Us and you're catching up with the show still, every single week we broke down the HBO's The Last of Us on the Clickercast. We have live streams every single... For the time being, it's probably going to be Fridays. We might come back to Thursdays when Chris is when Chris returns properly from his paternity leave. But for now, it's probably going to continue with Fridays. Where this week Rob played Resident Evil 4. Rob, how was Resident Evil 4?
I love this game so much. I've always loved it, and I've loved it for the past 10 years it's been out now. But I love the remake as well, and it's such a good game in its own right as well. It's not just living off past glories in a cheap way, so very good. There was a moment during the live stream where my dog decided to burst into the room as well, which but very, very fun.
You know what, if I had the time and the patience, I would have actually probably scrolled through the live stream to look for that moment and put up. But since I'm not going to, you guys are going to have to go watch the entire stream. It's all on the YouTube channel for you. It's a good stream. Chris also did a first look at T'Challa, which we talk about a bit more on Talking the PS tomorrow. So if you're interested in that game, formerly Stadia was planned to be a Stadia exclusive. Go check that out. He also did an unboxing of Amazon Luna's game controller because we got a bit of a shadow drop of, Amazon Luna shadow drop to the UK, Canada and Germany.
That's a big shadow as well to drop, right?
Yeah, I was just going to shadow drop my entire gaming platform.
It's casual, bro, yeah. I didn't have anything else planned on.
Was it
back end of the week?
It was a Tuesday or Wednesday and just suddenly is Twitter's exploding, and it's Amazon Luna's in the UK. It's wait, what?
Oh, okay, yeah. This is a thing now. Okay.
Yeah, so Amazon Luna, welcome to the UK. You guys are awesome. I might as well talk about it here, about potential plans for Amazon Luna going forward and stuff. We've got people have been asking us in our Discord, links in the description below, if we're going to be doing stuff. We are talking about maybe doing something. We actually had an idea for a Luna podcast before we even launched Talking the PS, and we've actually been sitting on assets for it. But I wouldn't expect anything immediately because at the moment, again, with Chris on paternity leave, it's just me and Rob running the entire channel, and we've always tried to balance that work-life balance. Mm-hmm. I know this is technically in the life category, but it's also then a quite time-consuming commitment. But we are talking about it. I think we are probably going to do something.
Yeah, I think everything we do here is, it's very much, it comes like from a place of passion, and it's very much a passion project, but we need to make sure that our output keeps us passionate as well, I think is the key.
When Chris, Tom and I started the channel, we did have this thing where we did say, like, gaming is the primary hobby. This is a secondary hobby that shouldn't get in the way of us actually playing games. So we will probably look to do something around Amazon Luna, whether it's just covering it through like the Let's Play side of things, like with the first looks and live streams, or maybe we finally launch the podcast that we've planned to do since before, like literally before talking to the PS. We had assets made and plans for that show before we even conceived of talking to PS. That's how long we've actually been sitting on it.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, because we thought when Amazon Luna came out of beta in the US, that's probably when it was going to go worldwide, and then it just didn't.
Yeah,
and then there was no movement, so we were prepared for that moment. But
yeah, it's kind of like in a game where like there's that scene where like you kind of defend like a doorway that's going to get burst open soon, and then there's like you ought to sit there for a bit, and then like any second now.
I mean, when I'm talking about like we've had assets prepared and stuff for that show, like actually paid for assets, we commissioned artists to do the animated intro that you always see. We've commissioned artists to do that. We have music for the intro music as well. We have like other assets, like other like custom emojis. We have everything we need effectively in our Google Drive to make that show. That's how ready we were to launch it. But then we said we weren't going to launch an Amazon Luna show unless we could actually play the damn thing. But yeah, so it's probably going to... So, I mean, I think we're probably going to do the podcast. I don't know how frequent it'll be, when it's going to happen, all that sort of stuff. Them conversations will probably happen more when Chris comes back off paternity leave. But let's move on. So, Rob, been playing anything interesting other than Resident Evil?
I've still been dipping into Valheim, which I told myself I was going to stop because it's a game that can very easily just take over your life. I feel like I'm at the end of it now. I kind of got to the bronze kind of armor sets and weapons and things like that, and all right. It's good, but I feel like I'm kind of coming to the end of it now. It may just be a thing I jump back into when I need relaxation time and things like that.
So yeah. I got to a point where I just seemingly couldn't progress, but I think you have to beat the first boss to progress beyond a certain point, don't you?
Yeah. So when you beat the first boss, you get the pickaxe, so you can start mining ores and stuff like that. It's actually a lot easier than it looks.
Yeah, I think we were actually at the point of defeating the first boss on stream. We probably just needed to optimize our gear a bit and then probably go in together.
Yeah, I didn't realize the block mechanic was so powerful either. So it's easy once you know how to block properly. So
yeah,
maybe we'll jump back into it on a live stream when we need a bit of a chill game to play.
Yeah, I kind of jumped out of it because on the seed I was playing, not the one we did on stream, I played a different seed. I found the boss on a different island, so I pretty much explored the island as much as I could that I started on, apart from the forest and mountain areas, which is the forest area very killy. Didn't want to go explore that yet, and the mountain is I just started freezing to death as soon as I got onto it. I said, well, I'm not going to go up there. So
yeah, I
built a raft, went to the second island, found the first boss. Because I didn't know what was going to happen with the raft, I just kind of left all my gear on the main island.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I wanted to build. Okay, I found the boss. Right, I'm going to build a little base here. Then so I can have this a bed and some chests and stuff, so I can use this as a staging ground to fight the boss. And then the boar destroyed my raft. A boar destroyed my raft. Then I died, but I spawned back on the first island, the opposite side of the map to where my base was. And I was like, I know when you have one of them frustrating moments in games, and it's like, so what I need to do is, with no gear, run the entire length of this map to get back to base, to get my gear, then to farm the stuff I need to build another raft before I get back to the point I was just at. I was like, I cannot be asked.
Yeah, I think we talk a lot about when certain games need like a additional element to them, and I think Valheim plus social element is the way to go with that game.
Yeah, 100%.
I think I'm done playing it on a solo effort, but
yeah,
if we want to team up sometimes, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, I think we'll do. I think it's something I would like to jump back into a stream. I think I'd like to jump in with Chris as well, because I think he would have a good time playing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we'll probably get to that at some point. Let us know in the comments if you want us to do another Valheim stream, because we haven't decided what we'll be streaming this week yet. Other than that, I've rolled credits in Hogwarts Legacy. I'm going for the platinum. Hopefully, I might even have it by the time this goes out. Literally, it'll probably depend on how long it takes me to like finish recording the shows and edit. So, with my intention to go back to play Hogwarts Legacy, let's crack on with the show. Rob, would you like to introduce us to
the excellently exuberant excavated Xbox expose, aka the news.
And as always, our news is brought to you by our Helix Heroes, where you can become a member of our YouTube channel for as little as 99p, which will give you custom emojis to use in our YouTube chat for aforesaid live streams, and early access to some of our shows, such as Talking the PS. And occasionally we'll throw another little bit in. Occasionally random stuff we'll come up with, and we'll throw that in here. So thank you for your support. I'm rambling. So let's talk about Redfall.
Let's talk about
Redfall. So there's a couple of... It feels almost at the moment like the Redfall marketing is almost like drip feed.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a bit more information this week regarding it, specifically regarding the campaign length, which seems to be about 20 hours long.
I think that's kind of a reasonable chunk of content for a game that has such like a heavy kind of replayability factor to it. That's kind of a decent amount for me, I think. What about you?
I'm quoting the team. You may be able to finish Redfall in 20 hours if you race through, but for lots of people it's going to take more than that, especially if you do safe houses, nests, explore the whole world. So like 20 hours seems to be the low end, and if that's your story stuff and there's replayability and seemingly things like safe houses and nests and exploring more of the world, there's also a whole system called grave locks that allow you to upgrade some of your powers. I think it seems decent, to be honest. It's with it being like an online focused game, you don't really want... I don't think you want like a 60-hour like campaign.
No, definitely not. And from what they're saying there, like it seems like it's a quality kind of 20 hours as well. It's like obviously like there's lots of like, you know, I always give Ubisoft a hard time for this, but it's very easy to pad out the time in game by just like doing fluff, really, isn't there? And it feels like they're talking about like a core 20 hours.
There's fluff, and then there's good side content. If the campaign's 20 hours actually is fairly substantial for a campaign outside of like JRPGs.
Yeah.
But when we talk about side content, what I kind of see as fluff is picking on Ubisoft. Like one of the things that I didn't like about Assassin's Creed Odyssey was all the side quests just seem so inconsequential. Here is generic NPC to give you generic instructions to go to location to kill enemies, then report back, and you will get some gold, which is basically not useful.
Yeah, or a piece of armor which is
disposable.
Irrelevant in like 10 minutes. Yeah.
And I always use the Witcher as a comparison, where everything, all the side content in the Witcher, I always felt meaningful. It felt like this is what Geralt would actually do. Like, even the stuff where...
Because he's like a working Witcher.
Yeah, he's a working Witcher, so if you get a contract to go kill a beastie, then... Oh, well, yeah, Geralt totally would actually do that. If he's like, you know what, I'm on the way to here where I'm looking for Ciri, I will take care of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will continue. This seems probably not as close to The Witcher in that kind of sense, but it feels like the side content is relevant.
Yeah, and I think for people like us as well, who aren't like super like online competitive gaming or kind of online in general, I think this further gives the argument to actually download this game, because for the argument for us is to download or not download, right, as opposed to buy or not buy. With be on Game Pass.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I've said many times on this show, like, Redfall is going to be played. It will be a live stream probably on the week of release on the channel, because what I see is it's kind of a perfect stream game. It's like, because it's on Game Pass, we'll all have it. If you're sat at home listening to this or watching this, you probably have Game Pass as well, and so you'll have it. It's a good, like, yeah, okay, we'll go jump in with the community, bring you guys in, play with you guys, and it's not so I'm not expecting it to be so like hardcore narrative focused that you have to like sit down quietly and pay attention to everything that's going on. It feels like a game that you could just like kind of half pay attention and be absolutely fine with.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, hands-on impressions seem to be quite good, because a lot of the journalists have got hands-on with it.
Yeah, I'm hearing like murmurings of Game of the Year contender as well from some sources. I mean, which I've always struggled knowing what this game is and kind of being a bit cautious of it because of that. But the more these arguments that come out, the more I'm thinking, yeah, okay, I'm going to give this more kind of mental like attention and energy, which to be honest, I wasn't really doing before.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just reading some of the reviews now. So VGC writes in their review, while hardcore fans may be a little disappointed at its less system-driven approach, Redfall is shaping up to be the studio's strongest shooter to date. Melding the studio's attention to detail with guns that pack a punch feels like a recipe for a cult curio developer to have a long-awaited commercial success. The key thing for me there is guns that pack a punch, because I think what makes or breaks shooters is how it feels, the feel of the guns. It's why everyone hates the Club from GoldenEye, because it just feels crap.
Yeah, you get some like kind of titles where it just feels like you turn on like a hand fan or something and just point it at somebody, right? Yeah,
sticking with GoldenEye, like the silver pistol you could get. They used to get off the generals. That felt like a bloody cannon. So I was like, if the gun feel is good, you're going a long way straight away for a multiplayer shooter.
100%, yeah. And yeah, I'm much more kind of switched on to this game now. You do find like a lot of multiplayer shooters, like it is just like a bit of spray and like see what happens type of thing. So if there's a bit more kind of methodical, kind of like firing a slug across somebody as opposed to just like spraying kind of water at them. I don't know why I'm going for this analogy, but the thing is, I'm looking forward to like a different type of feel for this shooter.
As someone who isn't like the biggest shooter guy, once in a while I do get the edge to jump into a shooter. I've had before now. I've jumped into Destiny just to get scratch that itch. Redfall could be one of them games for me where it's like, you know what, it's probably not going to stay installed on my Series S because space is limited on that thing. But if it's on the cloud, and it's probably just going to be pinned to my dashboard, and it's like, once in a while, just fancy shooting some vampires.
Yeah, and I don't want to wait like 2 hours for it to download, type of thing.
Well, that's it. Yeah, cloud gaming that could be so useful.
I know, right? But I'm the same as you. I'm not a big shooter. Anyone who tuned into the Resident Evil 4 live stream will definitely kind of attest to that. But again, sometimes you just need the itch. Yeah, like you need.
It's why Doom is so good, because I think Doom perfectly scratches that itch for a shooter for me. Like, I just want some good gunplay. And you know when you're just like, I don't want to care about, for a couple of hours, I don't want to care about the story. I just want to blow some stuff up. I just want the chaos. And Doom is like kind of the epitome of that kind of style of gameplay. It's like, yeah, there's some narrative stuff there, but he's a shotgun. He's millions of demons. Go kill them.
Like tell me what I need to kill. Give me zero kind of nuance on the morality of what I'm doing, and then just put some really fucking hardcore music on it. And that's fine.
I hope Redfall has some kick-ass music to it. I actually, the more we talk about this game, the more I want it to be awesome. Yeah. I think it being a Game of the Year contender may, as some people have been claiming, I think that might be a stretch, again, without playing it, in my opinion.
I think for Game of the Year, like I think for a lot of games, they can like demonstrate Game of the Year kind of quality for 3 to 5 hours. Yeah. For example, I think what separates them is can they sustain that across like the entire game.
Yeah, I expect to be talking about Redfall come like what do you call? My mind just went blank. I'm having a good day, guys. Come the Game Awards, I expect to be talking about Redfall, but not probably in the Game of the Year category.
Yeah, some kind of like niche.
Yeah, bear in mind, I think Hogwarts Legacy will be in that conversation. We've got Spider-Man's allegedly coming out this year. Talk to PS tomorrow. We talk about that. What else have we got? Oh, there's something big. We've got some other big titles coming that I think Jedi Survivor. I think Redfall for me. I'm seeing this as like this might just be my prejudice because I'm not a multiplayer gamer. I'm seeing this like a step below.
Yeah, that's fair.
But when it comes to like multiplayer game of the year, I think this might be in that category. Or
I think that's
games
fair.
as service, whatever that sort of categories are. But yeah, maybe like action game of the year or something. Pick up one in the mix for one of the other awards that isn't at the top award.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So Rob, moving on now to ABK, Activision-Blizzard-King. We've got probably some of the biggest movement in the deal in a while, actually.
Yeah, it looks like this is a big one, right? Like UK, EU, pretty much saying yes.
Yeah, so
cross fingers.
The UK regulators seem to be siding with Microsoft against Sony on the concerns about the deal, which is a huge kind of stance to take because the whole deal seemed to be pivoting around what the UK is going to decide, weirdly enough. Which, because the UK is now acting separately from the EU, Brexit reasons, but which compared to like the US and the EU, the UK is now actually significantly smaller than both of them in terms of like the market share. But the US and the EU both seem to be looking at the UK and going, "What are you guys going to decide?"
Yeah, it's a really strange one, isn't it? And I'm guessing just because like the UK is fair enough, like the market's smaller, but I think the UK probably over punches as a kind of a gamer place in the world. But it looks, I can't see anything cropping up now, right? Like we're at a point now where it feels like the argument against the competition has basically been lost at this point, and fairly so, I think.
I think
so. Now,
as much as we poke fun at them for like offering these 10-year deals, I think that might have been the clincher, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like sometimes, like I think like doing like the show of good faith and putting some of those deals on the table, and they are big deals. Like
it's a big deal, and it's a substantial amount of time, and it's also you get the full fat Call of Duty day and date for 10 years.
Yeah, I think let's think of like an alternative universe where one of these companies owned the Call of Duty franchise just because they developed it first party, like didn't by itself and use that for 10 years. It was going to be across different platforms, like guaranteed. That would be a an industry breaking story. The only reason we don't see it as that now is because it's wrapped up in this mega ultra gigantic like ABK deal, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, quoting Martin Coleman from the CMA, UK's Competition Markets Authority, so these are basically the UK regulators are kind of like advising the government on whether to give the yay or nay to this. Having considered the additional evidence provided, we have now provisionally concluded that the merger will not result in a substantial lessening of competition in console gaming services, because the cost to Microsoft of withholding Call of Duty from PlayStation would outweigh any gains from taking such action. So basically Microsoft assured the numbers and went, look, it doesn't even make financial sense for us to not give this to Sony.
Yeah, it's like all these people who want to play this game, they will not, like, only a percentage of them will actually buy an Xbox because of it. Yeah. We're just going to sell the game. Like, why mess with the model that's already like works for us and has made Call of Duty like the biggest franchise in gaming, I think is fair to say.
Yeah, the CMA apparently still have concerns on the deal's impact to the cloud gaming market. But to be perfectly honest, as someone who is a cloud gaming advocate, the cloud gaming market's quite small, and the whole overall overall industry, largely inconsequential at this moment in time.
Yeah,
cloud gaming is more. I think people look at it as the future rather than the present. It's definitely good enough to be the present. But even things that are success stories like GeForce Now haven't truly kind of captured the hearts and minds of every single gamer in the world.
No, and that's a completely fair point. But the thing is, if, again, the argument kind of falls down where if they were so concerned about cloud gaming kind of competition, make better cloud gaming platforms. And also, I think,
Microsoft has signed a 10-year deal with NVIDIA. So you can get Call of Duty on GeForce Now for the next 10 years. So that is literally cloud gaming. That's not like... It's different to like Nintendo or Sony where it's gone, you can get the full fat version because GeForce Now is cloud gaming only. So it's like... So it's like, no, we're not impacting cloud gaming that too much there, but we're literally happy for a cloud gaming only platform to have it.
Yeah.
And I suspect a deal with Luna is probably in the mix if Luna had a single storefront. Or
I'd agree, yeah.
Maybe put an Activision-Blizzard-King channel or something that you had to subscribe to.
Exactly, yeah. And I guess, there is an argument that says, like, once this 10 years expires, there's, like, they're free to do kind of what they want with the property and stuff like that. But the key thing is, like, competitors now have 10 years to make big strategic changes to get ready for that. So even in the worst case scenario, I think it's still fair enough to say, right, you've got 10 years to kind of react to this. Like, what more could they have done, really?
Yeah, I mean, I can't see... I mean, the only thing Microsoft could have done more is 20 years or something like that. There's rumours that they even offered PlayStation Call of Duty on PlayStation Plus as well. So it's like...
Yeah, which is crazy.
I mean,
but if you have like a 20-year deal is like...
Almost... It's not realistic.
It's like... It's more than half of what... When Microsoft founded, like
I don't know, yeah.
Early 90s? It's like... That's like half the length of the company existing already.
Yeah, so it just... I think we're now at a point where it's like, you know what, this is going to go through. The CMA intend to finish the report and pretty much have a decision come the end of April. Yeah.
The good thing is some law firms and consultants made a shitload of money from Microsoft and Sony on this one. And at the end of the day, isn't that what matters?
Yeah. Make sure the consultants get their taxpayer money.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm pretty sure this is going to go through. I mean, the EU seems to be ready to kind of make the similar sort of move. But yeah, I think it will be... I suspect come probably May, we'll get an announcement that, a deal's going to go through. but I think it's probably, I almost want to say next year that the deal will be completed.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't really know.
Like these deals take years in the making, and this objection to this deal happened pretty early on. Fair enough, like they decided on the commercials and the actual specifics of like the spirit of the agreement, but there is countless hours of like fine tuning to do on it.
I don't know what like the regulations are in terms of when the deals like this is going to like multiple international regulators and stuff. It's like, how much are they actually allowed to kind of progress things in the background? Are they allowed to get like all the ducks in a row kind of thing? Or are they allowed to just kind of, or is it kind of, you guys are not allowed to talk about this deal amongst yourselves until we decide of?
It's hard to say, but I do know like a lot of the like my knowledge of kind of corporate law is very limited, and about 20 years out of date now. But 15 years out of date, shall I say. A lot of these things have to happen sequentially. They can't happen kind of parallel to each other. So I'd say another 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at the Bethesda deal. That took a while to get over the line. After it was announced that it was like, yep, everything's good, it's all good. And I think it was like something like 6 months later that actually got completed.
Yeah, and that's a significantly simpler deal as well.
But moving on now to our next story, which almost actually points at the thing of why like Microsoft kind of need to get this deal over the line, because this is news that Xbox apparently fails to qualify as Metacritic reveals 2023 game publisher rankings. So Microsoft did not make the top 10.
No. I can't say I'm surprised really when you...
last year was a slow year, but it...
Yeah, like we've talked about a lot where, you know, Microsoft really have to like kind of turn around their first party fortunes if you want. And this list kind of personifies that. I mean, Sony at the top, obviously, like...
Yeah. It's an interesting list, actually. Nintendo are very conspicuously absent as well. That one I'm much more surprised at than Microsoft. But the top 10 are from like 1 to 10. Sony, Paradox Interactive. Well done, Paradox. That's genuinely higher than I expected.
Well, I think that'll be down to the Crusader Kings 3 was fairly well received. Victoria was.
Yeah.
Hearts of Iron.
It's not sales, it's Metacritic, it's ratings. I was getting mixed up in my head.
That's why Sony's just trounced it.
Yeah. Activision-Blizzard at number 3. Focus Entertainment at 4. Take-Two Interactive at 5. Capcom 6. Sega at 7. Annapurna at 8. Humble Games at 9. Well done, Humble. And Devolver Digital at 10.
So yeah.
Decent.
Yeah. But again, the key thing with this being like a Metacritic rating as well, like Xbox, like they do release a lot of chaff. You know?
Yeah, no, they release a lot of. Well, 2022 was kind of a slow year for Xbox in general. 2023 is already looking better.
Oh yeah,
I think there's a lot of 7 and 8 out of 10 games that come as Microsoft published stuff. They do occasionally go knock it out of the park. Sony, almost exclusively for a while have been. It's almost hit. I mean, it's no surprise Sony's on top of the list because God of War Ragnarok happened last year.
Yeah, but it's like with Sony as well. It's like super strong hit as well. It's not even like an 8.7, which is a great score. It's like 9s and 10s for Sony.
It's like can we give this an 11?
Yeah, exactly.
Some of their games, they really definitely skew it.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised at all. And again, Paradox kind of, they're much more visible in my kind of circle of gaming because I make a lot more kind of grand strategy on as well. I'm a bit surprised to see Take-Two so high actually, but
me too actually. Well, what did Take-Two release last year? I'm trying to think.
I'm going to have a look now.
Yeah, Sega's doing well. Capcom, like again, Capcom seem to be on a bit of a resurgence at the moment. Annapurna is always their games are always well received. Devolver Digital seem to do lots of stuff, so that's again. I'm not quite sure how these rankings are made. It's based on Metacritic. Is it just an average across the games received, or is it cumulative? I'm not sure how the score.
Yeah, it's difficult because like if like a company brings out 4 games, one's a 10, and then 2 are like average, does that negate the 10, or does it's hard to kind of figure out.
Right. Yeah. So it's the ranking is formulated with 4 things in mind: the average Metascore for all games released in 2022, the percent of scored products with good reviews, the percent of scored products with bad reviews, which is considered to be 49 or lower. Good games is 75 or above. Number of great titles, so Metascore of 90 or higher, with minimum of 7 reviews. So it's a accumulation of them kind of 4 things that they take into account and give like point scoring. But
okay. Yeah. But yeah,
full descriptions
Xbox,
on like Metacritic's website.
Yeah, Xbox. I know you're doing it, but up your game, please.
Yep. Yeah, I've said before, I think it's more time with Xbox that they need. They're attracting a wider range of games. Move away from like it feels like they're finally moving away from the Xbox 360 era of gaming.
Yeah, 100%.
That being said, the biggest release this year is probably going to be Starfield, which feels like in the Skyrim kind of camp. But I think they'll get there. They just need to diversify the portfolio, get some of the more like single player narrative stuff that Sony does so well to kind of like, they're the games that Sony tend to knock out the park, where it's like, we're going to tell you it's fantastic. It's your Naughty Dogs, it's your Insomniacs, these sort of like publishers.
Yeah.
They need one of them. What if they get 1 or 2 of like, yeah, like if they could get their own Naughty Dog, where we're going to make a single player narrative driven game that's going to be fairly linear, but we're going to do it to such a high degree that we're going to showcase what gaming could be, like almost like revolutionize what gaming could be. Look at God of War, for example, from Sony Santa Monica. Like that. Yeah, this like there's a reason. Like God of War, the first one is considered to be one of the greatest games of all time. And Ragnarok is technically better.
Yeah.
But yeah. Moving on now, Rob, do you think we need an Xbox Classic?
Personally, no.
Yeah, I'm a no as well. So this has come about because the co-creator of the Xbox has revealed that he's talked to Microsoft about the idea of a Classic. So Seamus Blackley was part of the team who developed the first Xbox, has talked to Microsoft about bringing out an Xbox Classic. Quoting him, it would have been brilliant. I thought, okay, we could do this just like the Duke. That then a couple of people internal to the Xbox team said, no, we want to do it internally. And I haven't heard anything since. So there you go. There you have it. Sorry.
I don't see the strong need for it. I mean, I wasn't a big fan when they brought out the PlayStation Classic. I thought that was a bit of a, I think that for me, the PlayStation Classic actually makes more sense than this, because before they revamped PlayStation Plus and started bringing like legacy titles over, like PlayStation 1 games were kind of locked on the PlayStation 1, or I think PS2 was backwards compatible. Mm-hmm. I think what I prefer is take the Series S, do like a special edition, one that looks like the original Xbox, and then just power it through Game Pass.
Yeah,
like bring back some of the older titles and stuff like that.
The reason why I think a Classic is kind of unnecessary is because Xbox has been from the ground up always intentionally to be backwards compatible, so you can play original Xbox games on your Series X, on your Series S, and you can on your Xbox One, and you can on your 360.
Yeah.
So the concept of a classic, then it's no longer like... There's two reasons why I think you can look into this. One, there's the novelty aspect. Like, this is a cool little box.
Naturally, like a collector item.
Yeah, it's a collector item. And then there's the game preservation side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if the games are completely backwards compatible and are still on the storefront, then the preservation argument goes away because it's just not needed. So then it's just the novelty of it. But there again, Xbox also made a hoodie for a controller. So this has a bit more practicality than that.
I mean, I don't think that's a good benchmark to set against, really.
I'm just saying that they've done crazy stuff that is kind of pointless in that before. In fact,
True.
the hoodie for the controller, not only is it pointless, it actually makes it harder to play games.
Yeah. I mean, the less said about the controller hoodie, the better, in my opinion.
I just love it.
But
maybe
what
Nintendo
they
do
could
weird
do,
stuff, so does Microsoft.
They do, yeah. I think maybe what I would... The one reason I buy it for is if they brought out the Xbox Classic, but they made it the way they wanted to make it, which was just like a big X. So do you know like how on the original model, like it's got the X, but then it's got like the sides kind of as vents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If they just brought out a big X in the original kind of vision, I'd buy that.
I think they could do that easily now, because technology has evolved to the point where they could take like the same kind of hardware, but like the capacitors would be smaller, everything would be smaller, which means that your motherboard could be smaller. Cooling systems have improved dramatically as well. So you could easily do it. But I think they'll probably just shrink it down.
Yeah, I mean it was a beast when it came out, wasn't it? Like
yeah,
all the rough kids around our school would like take Xboxes and like throw them off bridges at cars because they were so big, and that's how instead of doing the rocks thing.
Yeah. All right, let's move on let's talk about Hellblade. So before we get into this, Rob, have you played Hellblade before?
This is going to be sacrilege, but I have not.
Well, I'm also committing sacrilege because I haven't.
Okay.
But we've seen kind of a new trailer for Hellblade just drop. I mean, it'll be playing right now. It's showcasing the new Unreal Engine, and damn, this game looks good.
It looks beautiful, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like this is kind of like for me like a next level type of kind of performance.
We've just been talking about Microsoft's need to like kind of get a God of War style game.
This definitely looks like
this is probably the best looking game I've ever seen.
It's definitely up there for me.
In terms of the facial animations.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I mean, it's so like I'm looking at it now just as like so whilst we're like watching this, and like even like the reflections on the eyeballs are just, there's so much like depth to them, which like I had like this like amazing kind of feeling when I watched it was in the run up to the Uncharted 4 release.
Yeah.
And there was kind of like a scene where like his kind of like Nathan like Drake's skin kind of like bounced back from him like touching it so realistically, and that was for me like we've reached another level of kind of graphical performance, and I feel like this is the same thing.
Yeah. My only real question is, can the Series S run it? Because there's one thing like as a species, effectively having the technology to be able to pull off something this like incredible. I mean, if I just pull up showed someone a still, they would probably think this is a photo, or like from a movie set or something. And it's like, no, this is entirely animated. There's a point in the trailer where it does actually cut back to the actress, and apart from the fact that she's in like the motion cap suit and on the sound stage, it's very hard to tell. Like,
yeah, it looks fantastic, and I think it more just kind of like it shows where like how far the Unreal Engine is pushing stuff. I mean, the Unreal Engine sometimes it gets a bit of like an unfair kind of criticism that lots of games now just look like Unreal, which is fair, but when you're making like an engine this solid and this kind of easy to develop on,
I think in that sort of situation you have to appreciate that game development is very time consuming, expensive. If you have to then develop an engine, we've seen companies they develop their own in-house engines, and then you tend to get more bugs and they can be harder to work with. While there's the advantage is you can like kind of tailor this engine specific to your project. That's a ton of work. Where with Unreal, they've created something that is like the tool set is clearly good and approachable. I'm not a game developer, so I can't talk from first experience, but there's a reason why people are happy to use it. And then the outcomes that you get are also very good.
And I think it enables more games to be actually made, which would have been unviable for a lot of studios to make.
Yeah, it's why we reinvent the wheel? We've got the wheel; it's good, and Unreal is basically becoming the wheel. Yeah,
I mean there was the tech end, like the tech demo we had. Kind of, we're going to a bit more now, but like the actual real time abilities that things has as well to actually like create animations on the fly based purely off like live motion cap is insane. And to ask any kind of mid-sized developer to even come close to replicating that is quite frankly just like not possible. And it's a case that like lots of games only exist because Unreal exists. Now yes, is there like do you kind of get a distinct feel like it's an Unreal game? Yes you do, but that's not a bad thing, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. I think I agree. It's like, if you think about it, what sort of publishers could realistically develop and sustain their own engine?
No, I mean, look at Bethesda. They've run their own engine and it's fallen apart, but they're having to like use it for way longer than it should have been used because commercially it takes so long to make a solid game engine.
Yeah, like Ubisoft do kind of the same thing, and you get the criticism of that. I mean, talking about facial animations, Ubisoft comes under criticism where some of like the NPCs just look incredibly generic and actually often to almost a lower quality of production than the rest of the world around them. So it almost exaggerates it a bit. Like, so there's stuff like that where Unreal, they can just keep developing the engine. So it's only really like, so Bethesda, our argument is that as a publisher, they're having problems with their engine. Ubisoft are. EA keep forcing their own thing, and they're starting to move away from stuff. I could see Sony or Microsoft being able to pull off developing their own engine and sustain it over a long period of time.
Yeah, but after the mega studios, I don't see anybody who has the...
Yeah, because the technology, the development of the engine must take so long and to be so expensive that any mid-level size studio, it's just off the table immediately.
Yeah, and also like the niche skills it makes to create an engine as well. Like you have to hire those people, and then once it's been made, like there's a massive team here which... Fair enough, there's work to be done maintaining and iterating on it, but it's nowhere near like the initial effort. Like, do you just get rid of those people? Or do you rely on a company like Unreal, who their entire focus is on that? Like, that's their product, so they can build those teams and keep that speciality in house.
Yeah. So, well, I think as well you have to it's not just okay, we've got the engine, there we go, we're done. You have to keep developing it. But by the time you develop the engine, you need to realistically be starting work on the successor to it, because it's going to get old, and it's going to get old fairly quickly in terms of like the development cycle of things. But let's move on. quick one this next. Bethesda apparently pulled the PS5 version of Redfall after the ZeniMax acquisition. But there's some confusion because they're also saying they didn't.
I mean, obviously, like, why wouldn't they? That's the entire point, right? Yeah, maybe it's like weird technicality where it's like Bethesda are like, oh no, we didn't pull it. Like someone higher up the chain did. I don't know. But I don't know why anybody would be surprised that they took it off PlayStation.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, so there seems to be like a weird, like, well, did they pull it or did they not? Like, I mean, it's clear. I think it's obvious that, well, yeah, Microsoft buy ZeniMax. The game hadn't been announced. There's probably nothing in place to guarantee it. The PlayStation went, no PlayStation for you. Focus on the Xbox side of things.
Yeah, and make a better product for Xbox.
Yeah.
Because although obviously like there's a lot of commonalities when it comes to doing it across those two platforms, but just put all your eggs in one basket. Which now basket, and also the basket owns you, so
yeah,
like
you are owned by the basket. Oh yeah, let's move on. So Microsoft are starting to further develop some of like the mobile store and adding some like subscription manager and a new search page and stuff. It's like, I just want to kind of talk about Xbox's UI in general. It's like, I mean, this stuff is good news in my opinion because, quite frankly, I think the Xbox is, on my Series S, the interface is kind of garbage.
Honestly, I get so confused.
It's a mess. Like, and when you have to open up, you seem to open up the Windows Store to buy things. You can't tell things in Game Pass. It's like there's a lot of customizability in there, but it's not very user friendly.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like, especially when it comes to, like, if you want to download a game for PC or if you want to send it to your Xbox, and like, there's so many different windows that open up, and it's like, oh, now you've been logged into another version of the Microsoft Store, which for some reason you weren't logged into before, but this one doesn't have this title on for some reason, and it's a complete pain in the ass. Like, I had a real panic when we were streaming Valheim, because I just couldn't figure out how to like find it for a PC download, because I got stuck in some infinite loop which sent me back to, oh, do you want to send this game to your Series S? And I was like, no, like, this game is available on PC, right? Like, it got to that state of it.
Yeah, I think it all comes back to Microsoft's decision with Windows to bring out, oh, we're going to bring out the Microsoft Store, and everyone went, ugh. No one anyone
I don't need another store. Yeah,
but then because they put the Microsoft Store on Xbox, and that's where they want to put the PC games. It's like, what they should do is just go, right, Microsoft Store is going to be for just PC apps. We're going to bring out an Xbox storefront. It's going to be clean. It's going to be just games, whether it's PC or whether it's thing. And it just needs to be easy to navigate in terms like the UI as well. What your homepage just needs to be. You look at the PlayStation UI. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, to its credit as well.
You have a couple of buttons. You have the store. You have PlayStation Plus. Then you've got your tiles, which are just pretty much your games, and then that's kind of it. Yeah,
and that's all it needs to be. Super simple.
Yeah,
no complications. Like, get me close to the games and make them more accessible.
I remember before, I think it was one of the early editions of the Xbox One. A friend of ours showed me, and one of the things I liked is it kind of reminded me a lot of the PlayStation 4, like, front, but then it also had a pin system, so you could pin key apps and stuff. And it's like, but it kept that kind of like very simple design language. It's like, this is easy to navigate and easy to see what you're doing, where you are, navigate around.
Yeah, and like, the key thing you said there is like iterating on previous designs. What I feel like what the issue is at the moment for Xbox is that their entire store ecosystem is so just fundamentally broken. They need to completely redesign it, which that redesign will also have its issues. which need to then be iterated on. So probably a good couple of years before actually seeing a decent storefront for Xbox.
Yeah, I almost want them to just kind of start from scratch, and they need to kind of take that kind of the Apple approach and go, this needs to be clean and simple.
Yeah.
And
because that's what 99% of people need.
Yeah. And just have it so it's dead easy to find things. So sometimes, like, when you look for things on cloud gaming, is it there, is it not? Well, you haven't to do searches. You just kind of want a storefront, which is you press this button and now you're in the store, and then everything you can see you can buy.
Mm-hmm.
What a section for Game Pass where you click on the button and now everything you see is part of Game Pass. You can just play.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff you need, and then here's the recent games that you've been playing. And again, I'd go back to have a pin board. So if you want the pin, but keep it simple, keep it clean. I like the PS4's folder system. So you could just create a folder and you could put games in like that. It was simple, it kept it clean, but it was also quite powerful for organisation.
Yeah, and also this is like kind of they have like a base version of that, like the like going back a bit in time now, but like the Windows Phone had that really easy to use functionality of like the folder system. So why not just bring it? Like someone's done it at some point in the company.
Yeah, and now they've got things in there that I think just make it messy at the moment, where like you can create like almost like categories on your homepage where you can add games to, or you can put games in your play later list, which I don't even know where that exists in the ecosystem. This is the kind of thing. It's all kind of like there's some good ideas but poorly implemented.
Yeah, and like I just find myself defaulting to using the search bar for literally anything. Like even like I have this game installed somewhere.
Yeah,
search for it. And then, yeah. So these are very welcome updates, but more bigger and more frequent, please.
Yeah. I mean, let's just wrap up the show now with again another small bit of news, but good news for Elden Ring fans on Xbox Series X. You now get ray tracing.
I feel like we need to play this game as a channel, don't we?
We do. It is on my list of things to play. Maybe I'll commit to this week playing it, because we haven't decided what we're playing. Unless something like big drops like that we want to play, I think it will be this, because you know what I'm going to commit to now. This week I'm playing Elden Ring. That's what I've decided.
Ooh.
I've been promising it for a while, so it's time.
After Richie's stellar performance in Warlong,
yeah,
we will now be tackling Elden Ring.
Yep. You will not get ray tracing from me though, because I only have a Series S, and to be honest, ray tracing is one of them things that looks incredible, but I think it's not usually worth the cost, because they usually like halves your frame rate, if not worse. Yeah,
I mean, like I'm from a PC perspective, I'm running like a pretty like powerful PC, and like even then, like I see the performance drop so dramatically when I turn ray tracing on, and for most titles I prefer the higher frame rate, and like also just like less worry about what the hell my fan's going through, and stuff like that.
I think ray tracing was kind of the big promise of this console generation, but I think that the hardware required is just... I think it is kind of realistically beyond the current generation of consoles.
Yeah.
Unless you can really optimize like your game engines and stuff. And the reason why I think it's probably not really worth it, because frame rate is one of them things. Once you're used to gaming in 60 frames per second, going back to 30 feels weird, it feels wrong, it feels slow, it feels clunky.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fine for some games. Like anything turn-based, absolutely fine, don't care. Like, but anything that's kind of very precise, like something like Elden Ring, where you have or Warlong, where you having to be precise with your movements, you want that 60.
100%, yeah. But it's like any kind of new tech, isn't it? Like it gets invented, and then everything else needs to catch up to support it.
It is amazing. But going back to Valheim, when we played Valheim, it's like that game looks ugly.
Yeah,
and then 10 minutes later, you no longer care.
Exactly, yeah, because the game...
Yeah,
does the heavy lifting in other areas.
But if the game was running like crap and looked pretty 10 minutes later, you still care. Like, one of the things I think put me off, actually, of Plague Tale Requiem when I started it is Plague Tale Innocence was running at a smooth 60 frames per second for the entire time. Mm-hmm. Plague Tale Requiem seemed to be running at a slightly uneven 30. Yeah. So it just, to go from one to the other, it looked significantly prettier, but I just couldn't get past it. I think that's why I kind of needed to take a break rather than going straight into it. I needed to distance myself before I go back. So it's like, I was trying to play, I was like, this feels worse to play than the last one. Like, it looks better, but it feels worse.
No, I completely get that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think that's all we have time for this week. If you've liked the video, hit that like button and consider becoming a member for as little as 99p. We also have a Discord server where you can join in talking with some awesome people, give Chris some parenting tips, and laugh at me when I fail to play Elden Ring. Links are in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. My name's been Richie.
And I've been Rob.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.